I fed my chickens rice and beans for an entire year. Yes, that's right, rice and beans for an entire year. I fed my chickens without buying bags from Tractor Supply, just to prove myself that I could do it. And they haven't just survived, they've thrived.
I want to feed rice and beans.
You love feeding rice and beans?
Can we go to the other ones?
We got sweet potato in there
I
too.
got it.
And they seem to like that. You could see them eating that sweet potato. Something a little different. Their beaks are getting all orange.
Yeah, they are.
Now lately there's a lot of fear and uncertainty surrounding chickens and eggs, and it's not just the question of which came first, the chicken or the egg. The price of eggs has risen dramatically to $8 to $10 a dozen in some areas of the country, and that could be for all sorts of different reasons, which I'm not going to get into in this video. But what if I told you that there's a way to feed your chickens cheaper than bags from the feed store without the worry of what's actually being put in those bags of feed that could possibly negatively affect your chickens? So in this video, I'm going to show you results from my own feed experiment of rice and beans, how it works, why it works, how I prepare the food, how much protein percentage the food actually has, some of the shortcomings of the rice and beans diet, some mistakes I've made using this diet, and other supplements I add to give the chickens what they need in order to thrive in these daily meals. You really should get chickens. And this was my first thought during the COVID times, was that I needed a source of food security, and chickens were the first logical choice. The eggs are delicious, nutritious, and they're easy to raise. And they only need a few things to be happy, mostly food and bugs to eat and dirt to dig and scratch in. And they're really fun to incubate as well and see the magic of how the egg transforms into a living being. And it's a great learning experience also for your kids. But my next thought after getting chickens was, what if something like the pandemic happened again and we couldn't access feed stores? What would we do then? Well, this is maybe a prepper mindset, but how could you not be cautious after what we experienced in 2020? Everyone should have access to fresh food in their backyard, and you only need a few chickens to keep your family fed. This is the solution, I think, to this so-called egg shortage. It's to have every home with just 3 or 4 chickens in their backyard. Now, how do I make the food? When cooking the rice and beans, I like to add garlic, oregano, and parsley. I like to add parsley because it's high in vitamins and helps their feathers. It's also high in calcium and helps to get better egg production. Garlic powder is another thing. It's a natural antibiotic. It strengthens their disease resistance, helps reduce parasites, helps them get rid of mites and worms, and it supports heart health and egg production. Oregano is also a natural antibiotic and antiviral, so it helps to fight infections and respiratory issues. It's also high in antioxidants and other benefits. I measure 2 cups of rice and 2 cups of beans, and I pour them into my Instant Pot. I fill the water fairly high, almost near the max level, and I cook them at high pressure for 30 minutes. I pour the mixture in a bowl for them in the morning. This way they get all of the liquids as well, which comes in handy during the winter months when everything is still freezing. They still get warm liquids in the morning. And the liquids do draw some of the nutrients away from the food. It leaches into the liquid. But as long as the chickens are getting all of that liquid in a bowl and it's not getting all over the ground, washed away, they're still getting all those nutrients. Now you might be asking, why rice and beans? Well, because it's simple. I prefer white rice and pinto beans. It provides protein, carbs, fiber, fat, calcium, iron, magnesium, phosphorus, and potassium. It is a bit low in amino acids and calcium for the chicken's needs, but you can also add those to the diet as a supplement. I add crushed eggshells periodically back into their feed from their own eggs instead of buying oyster shell from the store. Fish meal or black soldier fly larvae is another good option to increase their protein needs. They also need greens, which we typically give them from our garden, either from weeds like dandelions or kale or things like lettuce. Sunflower seeds are another high protein food that you could give them. Corn is a good option as well to feed them, especially in the winter. It gives their bodies a little bit more energy. The other good thing about those supplements is that you can grow those fairly cheaply. And for fish, you could even catch them yourself at a local stream or pond. Go fishing locally and get those fish for free to feed your chickens. So next I'm going to share the results from this first year trying this out. And this was for 12 chickens at the time. However, I didn't realize at the time that half of those chickens were actually roosters. So the results that I'm going to share for the first 6 months of the study was from 6 egg-laying chickens. Now from July into August is where I made a change here that I think has positively affected the egg laying. This is when I culled the roosters, which were antagonizing the hens and decreasing the egg production. I'm pretty sure it wasn't the feed because the egg production went way up after removing the roosters. I also realized I had too many birds in my chicken run, so I separated them. I now only keep 8 birds in the main run, and I have 3 other birds in one chicken tractor and 2 other birds in a separate chicken tractor. Now, spreading out these birds has helped them not be so stressed out, and they don't have to fight for food as much. And egg production went up after doing this. This is also when my most recent batch of chickens I hatched in our incubator finally started laying in August of 2024, and that brought us up to 13 laying hens. And we also added chicken tunnels, which has improved their happiness levels, giving them more space to run throughout the yard. It's pretty crazy how much more productive the birds have been this winter compared to last, and I credit that to giving them more space, like I just mentioned, with the birds, spreading them out throughout the yard. From January 2024 to January 2025, our chickens laid a total of 729 eggs total for about 2 eggs a day. Not too bad. I was buying each month about 1 bag of white rice, and that's 18 pounds for approximately $16.99, and 16 pounds of pinto beans for $13.76. So I was spending about $30 a month. A mistake I made early on is feeding only 1 cup of rice and beans each day. And I quickly learned that this was not sufficient for the chickens' needs, especially during winter. This is another reason why I think they didn't produce at all for a few months. Even though my research told me that 1 cup of rice and beans is 17% protein, that is not specifically for chickens, that's just in general. Each chicken needs a 1/4 pound of food a day with 17% protein. I learned later on that the chickens did better when I made 2 cups of rice and 2 cups of beans each day for about 10 chickens. And in fact, this is giving them approximately 17% protein in the food for 10 chickens. I also saw an improvement when I started regularly dropping handfuls of black soldier fly larvae along with this food of the rice and beans that I'm making for them every day. The main way that I've been supplementing their rice and beans feed is with black soldier fly larvae, and specifically this company, Grubterra soldier fly larvae. This is a really cool company. They're like a 100% sustainable company that sources all of the food scraps from like landfills and restaurants that would normally throw out food. They take all that stuff and produce black soldier fly larvae for your chickens. Really good stuff, and you're not going to get any complaints from the chickens from this stuff. In fact, they go crazy just at the sight of it. Oh my God, they want it right now. If you're interested in giving your own chicken some black soldier fly larvae from Grubterra recently reached out to me and gave me my very own discount code. It's called Tiny Farm, and if you use that code at Grubterra's website, you'll get 10% off your next purchase of soldier fly larvae for your own chickens. So please check that out and use my code if you do. I would appreciate it. Woo! Who wants some? Who wants some? Anybody? They love this black soldier fly larva. So my final thoughts. This is an incomplete study because the first 6 months were very inconsistent with the laying because of the conditions and overcrowding and too many chickens and too many roosters. This brought down the numbers dramatically. But in the last 6 months, I've seen massive improvements with my chickens, now feeding them 2 cups of rice and 2 cups of bean each day, which has helped, along with the food scraps and black soldier fly larvae. If you find yourself intrigued by the prospect of feeding your own chickens without going to the feed store, please subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, because I'm going to be making a series on featuring our chicken garden this year, where I'm planning to grow enough food to feed our chickens for an entire year without needing to go to the feed store or the grocery store at all. So you can also subscribe to our email list down below. If you found this video interesting, you might want to check out the next video up here, because I described in detail how I hatched my own chicks at home and raised them without buying any bags of starter feed from the feed store. It's a good one. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.